Before we get into today's episode, if you haven't already hit subscribe over at the Photo Banter YouTube channel, it'd be much appreciated if you could. I'm going to be uploading more video content, podcasts, and different photo documentaries I've been making. So keep an eye tuned for those. All you got to do is go over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button on the Photo Banter YouTube channel, and your support is much appreciated. And thanks so much. Welcome back to this week's episode. On today's podcast, I welcome back returning guest, photographer Sean Murphy. I was excited to get Sean back on the show as he just released a new book titled My Friend Weezer. It's a collection of photographs that Sean took over the last 25 years with his long working relationship with the band Weezer. In this interview, I speak to Sean about his journey working with Weezer, the various photo shoots he's done over the last 2 decades, and just kind of his approach to putting the book together and photography and much, much more. I really enjoyed speaking to Sean. He has a really, an excitement for photography. He's been doing it for a long time and accomplished a lot. And it was great just kind of hear about his journey, not only just with Weezer, but this commercial photography and this great conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. And also just have to give a big thank you to our sponsor, PicDrop. PicDrop is a file transfer tool that was created by photographers with photographers in mind. You can easily drag and drop your photos and videos and upload them quickly, create custom galleries for your clients, and send them via secure links. I've personally been using the platform for over 5 years now, and it's just kind of a seamless way to communicate with my clients and transfer my photos. They can use the scribble tool to communicate and make notes on the photos, and use the color selection tool so I know their favorite photos. It's just this kind of streamlines my workflow and easy way to communicate with my clients. And with today's episode, if you enter the promo code BANTER, you'll get 2 months free of the PicDrop image transfer tool. All you got to do is go over to picdrop.com, enter the promo code BANTER, or you can go to the show notes of this episode and click the link for my discount code. But definitely go give PicDrop a try. Like I said, I use this platform every day and really appreciate it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this episode, and thanks so much. All right, Sean Murphy, welcome back, man. How's it going?
I'm so pumped, bro. I'm so excited. Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, dude, exciting. A lot of I think last time I talked to you was like during the pandemic or something. It's probably like 4 or 5 years ago we did the first one. It's been a minute.
Was it that long?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, time flies.
Yeah,
But
last time we just talked about drugs, I think the whole time. So
yeah,
cool.
man, I saw you got 14 years this couple months ago. I got 11, no drinking, no booze, so we're keeping it moving, man.
11 years you
Yeah,
got?
yeah,
That's
mate.
amazing. That's amazing, dude. That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, man. I don't know about you. I don't even like think about it anymore. Like really.
No. No, and actually today my wife and I are driving home. We had some kind of a little stressful morning with we're working on building a house, and I was like, gosh, man, I'm sober now. Like, I don't even have drugs and alcohol, but I can't imagine like having to do life the way it is now, how full and busy it is, and also then have to deal with like hangovers and finding where to buy my drugs and all the other shit.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that aspect of where, I mean, reason for having you back, you're just released a book, all
Mhm.
your Weezer photography,
Yeah,
and it's over 20 years. So in part of that book, you're still partying, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
is it kind of wild to look back at that work, and it's almost like you're two different people in the process of making those photos.
yeah. I'm looking at I have this. I was just looking at. I have the proof copy. I was just looking at that as you asked me that question. But yeah, there's a couple of shoots that are not hard to look at, but I remember a period, when you kind of look at back at pictures at a time in your life, and it's kind of like the pictures could be amazing, but there's a weird feeling behind them. It's not really, I'm not into it
Hmm.
because it was a hard time in my life. There's a couple of those in that book, but I think overall, things were, I was kind of in and out. So it wasn't like I was jacked up all the time. So I think overall, my experience with them has been really good over the last 25 years. So, um, and they're such a positive group too. Like they're as humans, as people, they don't party. You know what I mean? They're like just normal dudes. So it's like they're kind of wholesome,
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
most part. So whenever I would shoot with them, I remember it was always kind of like this uplifting day or couple of days where I would have some meaningful conversations with different guys in the band about, like Rivers might be doing some kind of yoga retreat or a health food thing or a meditation thing, and somebody else would be doing something else. So I kind of get this cool little, I don't know, it's kind of like a healthy couple days for me too,
Yeah,
you know?
because you're like a high energy guy. So like when
Yeah.
you go into those, because even the book you called them like nerd rock. Like that's what
Did I?
I think so, or maybe something like in the Instagram post I was reading about it.
Yeah,
Like this
yeah,
and like how do you yeah, because you're like a higher energy person. Like when you're and some people aren't. Like when you're going
yeah.
into a shoot, like are you trying to like match energy or you just kind of be yourself or like how do you kind of approach that when you're photographing people, I guess?
So I think back in the early days of Weezer, I've always been who I am,
Hmm.
and I kind of figured out how to work with them. I think I talk about it at the beginning of the book, the first shoot where I was drinking that day. I remember drinking Coronas that day, and Alternative Press magazine called me. Norman Wonderly used to run that. He called me. He's like, "Hey man, so you're gonna shoot Weezer, and the concept for this shoot is Space Odyssey, uh, 2001, A Space Odyssey, the movie, from like I think it was made in the 60s or something. So it was really this cheesy movie that kind of imagined what life would be like in 2001. So every photographer in that magazine, that issue had that was their concept. So I had, as I did in school, I was like last minute, I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? It was like the morning of the shoot, kind of, and my assistant Nate Bressler was over, and we were kind of just hanging out. Oh, there you go. Look at you. Look at you. You're like, what's his name on Joe Rogan?
Oh,
What's the guy?
Jamie.
Jamie.
I do two jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had never met the guys before, and at the last second, we kind of came up with. I was watching that show, The Kids in the Hall.
Mhm.
You might be too young for that. Do you ever remember that Kids in the Hall? It
I
was like this a Canadian skit show. It
yeah,
was
I
kind of
vaguely I think I've seen it, but yeah, it was a little bit before me, I think.
Yeah, so they had this skit that they would do that I thought was really funny, where one dude would walk around the street and they would put a camera through his fingers and go like, "I'm squishing." He would squish people's heads. He'd just walk around and go, "I'm squishing your head. I'm squishing your." So I was like, "Oh, we could do a scale thing with the sauce, the flying saucer. We could make this thing." So we just kind of on the spur of the moment, had some cardboard and we made this little cheesy um, UFO. And then the stylist, Houston Sams, that worked with me all the time, she showed up and stopped by Home Depot on the way and got a bunch of bullshit. And then they showed up. And the first time I met them, yeah, my energy was high and I expected them, they're a band. I thought, you think bands are also going to be high energy and ready to rip. And they showed up and it was kind of awkward. They're in my dining room. They all walked in at the same time and Rivers was in front and he wasn't saying anything and I was like describing what I wanted to do and he just was staring at me like I was
Yeah.
like he wasn't understanding what I was going for and I was like and then he just kind of nodded like okay, that's cool, and then we did it and he was in character and it was amazing, and that was a great experience. And then moving forward, they started calling me for shooting different shoots because I guess they had a good time. And so from then on out, every time they would call me for an album shoot or whatever, I would have like a mood board. I would go through all my albums. This is every single shoot I did with them. I'd go through my album collection, which is a lot. I have a lot of albums,
Yeah.
and I would look for inspiring compositions or color palettes or themes, and I would Xerox those onto like, and then print them out, and then show them like all the ideas I like for composition, or maybe a color tone or theme, and then I would bring it to Rivers, and he would every single time he would just go, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that." He never would. He might have a suggestion, but mostly he just let me do what I wanted to do and let me be me, and I think that's why the relationship with them has been so amazing for so long because I haven't really had a relationship I
Yeah,
would say
yeah. I think you said
Maynard.
in the
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
In the book, it said like your three like it's like Weezer, boat, the paddleboard company you work with, and then like Getty Images.
Those are the three biggest
Yeah.
things. And the only other artist that I would say would be Maynard from Tool.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him longer than Weezer and worked with him, but not on any sort of scale like with Weezer, you know. So
Because
um
this shoe was your first shoe with Weezer. What was what 2001?
yeah, this was actually in the end of 2000. Yeah.
So at that point they'd already been established, been around a while. Because I think that I remember one of my first albums was that Blue album. I don't know if that was that Weezer's first album, that Blue one. That's like
Yeah.
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 I remember that.
Yeah, the
I think
first.
it was like 94, 95. That one came out. So when you started shooting, they were already kind of established. Were they working with like any other photographers at that point, really, or is this kind of
Yeah, so I guess um the Carl, you know, so you looked a little bit at the book probably,
Yep.
and there's do you know who Carl is? That's part of
Yeah.
the band.
Yep.
Cause so Carl Koch he's been with the band longer than Weezer's been a band really,
Mm-hmm.
and he's told me the story many times, but I I don't remember exactly how it went down. But he was friends with them in the very beginning, and somehow was just kind of their he started doing their flyers and their merch and maybe designing some of the album stuff and kind of just doing all their social everything having to do with the band. He's still there. He's in texted me yesterday. He's in Europe with their tour right now, and he's sending me pictures. And he basically does he is a Weezer. So um yeah, he's been with them for like, I don't know how many
Yeah.
years, 89, 90, something like that. uh, and it's cool to see like Rivers before he was in Weezer. He had like long hair, was more of a metal guy, and their story is crazy interesting. And then Scott, the bass player, he was in a metal band before he was in Weezer, and then now he's in. It's just cool, dude. I was in Ireland last summer when I got married in Ireland, and we hung out with them in Ireland. I can't. I just looking at the arena, like how are these dudes like we're all in our mid 50s,
Yeah.
It's like how are these cats still selling out
Yeah.
like every show? It's insane.
Yeah, they really do have like a cult following. The people that are into not even cult, they're huge, but like yeah, the people that like love Weezer, they love Weezer. Like they
They
got
love Weezer.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um
it's insane. So yeah, so I mean, I was always kind of thinking about, doing some sort of a book. And I say this to you now, and we'll talk in a few years and see if I change my mind. But I probably will never do another one. It was a such a big project for me. And but this band, it kind of lend itself to it's 25 years, right? That's a long time.
yeah.
So I was worried that there wasn't going to be enough content. Like, could I make a fluffy book out of this when you edit it all down? But I think it's nice. It's like I don't know how many pages it is, 200
Yeah.
something.
It's a lot of stuff in
I
there.
mean, it's pretty thick.
Hmm.
It's got a lot of stuff. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, because I think I remember when John Harrington, one of your old assistants, it was a few years ago, he was still you were scanning it like 2, 3 years ago. So you've been working on this for a minute now.
Yeah. So when I moved to Florida from Los Angeles, John, I saw him last week, by the way, and we were shooting Mastodon in
Yeah.
Atlanta, and he worked with me. He's doing good, really good. Uh, so when I moved here, we built a negative room, like a little vault, and John scanned every negative sheet that I'd ever done, personal and photo shoots, and I don't even know how many there were. He worked in there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then his girlfriend came in and scanned the high res scans of each shoot that I selected. So then I decided to do the Weezer book. So a lot of the work had been done. Like that's the hardest part. And then going through all the digital stuff, it was a lot. It was a couple of years of just editing, And then my friend Amit Zappa, Frank Zappa's son in Los Angeles, he's a really good friend of mine. He interviewed me for all the shoots. So we would Zoom once a week and talk about every shoot, and that's where the stories came from. And it's kind of
Yeah, that's what I really enjoyed about the book. It's kind of like this collage thing of like, yeah, like the behind the scenes stuff. You get to see like contact sheets, and then even just as a photo nerd, seeing the evolution of like the cameras, because it starts off with like you're shooting like the Mamiya RZ and like some other cameras, and then it's like you can see the early days of like digital, like the Canon stuff, and it's just like the evolution of this, even just the technical side of the photography.
That's my favorite part. Going back, and I had a couple of people comment on that are photo nerds. They're like, dude, this is like, fuck that it's with Weezer. Like, even if you don't like Weezer, it's just cool to like hear how the shit was done, right? Before, when you had to do a multiple, how did you do that? It's and I yeah, take it for granted. I mean, it's like this shit ain't easy when you're shooting blind on a roll of film trying to do a perfect multiple exposure of an entire band,
Hmm.
each individual, and put it on one frame, or doing pull focus or shooting the Polaroid negative film, which I did a lot of that in the book, and remembering what a pain in the ass that was, and just getting one sheet to be not scratched up and have a good picture on it and all the things. It was like, winning the lottery back then.
Yeah. Even the seeing you as a younger guy, you're like a lot of tank tops in Murphy's in the early days of your photography. It's so great. Uh, um,
It's cringy. Like Brian, the guitar player, he called me many times and he's like, I don't know about that photo, man. Like, I'm like, dude, like, this is 20 years ago. We all did shit. We
oh
all had
no,
little.
it's great, man. It's just like a timestamp of like even yeah, 20 25 years ago. It's just like everything was different. Just the clothes, the jeans, cell phone, the technology. I love seeing all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, seeing like Brian on his cell phone, and it's like got a little
Antenna.
the antenna.
Because for you, like because you're a busy photographer, you've been doing this for a long time, and it's always just like on to the next thing, and getting the time to actually sit down and like look at this large body of work, like how does it make you feel? Like, does it when you look at the work, does it seem like a long time ago, some of the photos, or does it seem not that long ago in your mind, or like how does it feel just kind of having the time to actually look at this work?
Yeah, I think it was uh, a very special time for me because it, I- fortunately or unfortunately, I haven't stopped even to now. So I really have never taken a break in my life to reflect on any of the things I've done. So this was a forced time to be able to really pay attention. And I had this girl Sky Bailey that I work with at Boat. She's an amazing designer. And when I put the book together, I was like, okay, how do you do a book? Like I've done a couple, but they're not like this. How do you do the writing, and how do you design it, and then how do you do? I don't know how to do any of it, right? So Sky worked with me, and I thought, is this just, am I picking the easy thing because she's my friend, or should I call somebody that's like in Romania that's a Weezer fan that, you could do anything you wanted. So I kind of took a risk and I picked her, and thank God, because she's so talented and she's down the street and she's stylistically, she's on brand. And then Carl was a big part of it because he shot a lot of the behind the scenes and had, since he's their historian, he had all this behind the scenes shit that I didn't even know he had since the first shoots to now. So he had all that, and then he loves to write, so he offered to do the forward, and then he sketched some flyers inside, and then Brian mentioned that his sister was a, an artist, and I was like, that's always sketchy, right? Because you're like, okay, maybe it's his sister, maybe she's not that great, but man, dude, she was like without her little doodles, I can't even imagine the book being what it is without those. Like she's so great, and so and then the key part was I didn't know how to put a book out, so I was like, how would you get this published, or do I self-publish it? And so originally Amit was going to try to help me with some things, and that ended up not happening. But through a friend, I met another lady that lives close by in Destin, who's a really well-known fictional writer.
Mm-hmm.
named Meredith Wild is her pen name, and she writes like these novels of like romance novels or something.
Yeah.
So she has written like 20 of them, and she has this huge mansion out in Destin. And we became friends, and I asked her just, hey, can you give me some advice on like, I'm not asking you for anything, just need some advice on like, what do you think I should do with this book? How do I get it out? She gave me some advice and said to self-publish it. Then called me like a month later. She's like, "Hey, I'm in New York at Simon and Schuster, and they really like this book idea. I mentioned it to them, so they would like to do like a hybrid deal and distribute it, and then she's going to publish it if I wanted to." And I was like, "Hell yeah, like
Yeah, I was
let's do
yeah,
that."
that's the thing I was curious because it's published by Page and Vine, but then it's distributed by Simon and Schuster. So like how does
Yeah.
because normal I didn't know that was a thing like where it's like two different things. So what does the publisher handle and then Simon and Schuster, what do they basically handle?
So yeah, so it's again, I knew nothing about any of this. So it's a hybrid publishing deal. So I handle all the hard costs, like paying people for all the shit, which was crazy,
Oh yeah.
and like I didn't know how much that was going to cost, which was a lot. But I was like, I feel like it's a good investment. So I think normally sometimes the publisher would handle that hard, like a signing with a record label. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll pay for it, but then you pay for it later.
Yep.
So I handle the hard costs. The distributor handles like where the book is going, right? So it right now it's in every bookstore, Barnes and Noble, Target,
So,
Walmart.
so you're handling the cost of all the printing too?
The printing
Damn.
and getting the book made, and then the publisher handles all the logistics of getting the book printed, handles the printer, the copy editing, all the details of getting it put together, which I needed tons of help with,
Yep.
the communication between all the people, and then Simon and Schuster will handle the books getting placed in all
Y-
the
Yeah,
stores.
because they got all the distribution of like it's
Yeah.
damn. So it's gonna be a pretty big release then. And Simon Schuster
Yeah.
they ain't doing any small potato shit.
Yeah. I'm super pumped, and I mean, where it's at now is I got the proof, and there's a lot of notes that I have, and and some changes because we're photographers, right? And it needs to be perfect to the photo. So that's the stage I'm at now, and it'll be out October 14th.
And you can people can pre-order it now, all right?
Yeah, right now it's been like the Weezer fans are rabid, dude.
I know.
They're freak.
I
Yeah.
texted you before. I was looking at because it was cool. I mean, that's the other thing I was gonna ask you is like, obviously it's your photos, but do you have to like get permission from Weezer? And then obviously they're already like they're posting it on their socials and obviously supporting you. But is that something you had to like get their approval before you even want to do this project or
Yeah, so that was have you done a book? Did you do a book before of
never?
your Cuban stuff or Cuba
Yeah, I want to
photos?
do one with my baseball stuff, but yeah, it's just it's as you know, it's really expensive. So it's like I'm just gonna wait until I don't because I don't want to do it cheap. I want to if I end up doing it,
Yeah,
I want to do it right.
that's how I just had this lucky period of time in my life where some things happened where I had like a little bit
Mm-hmm.
put aside and it was happened to work. So I
Yep.
was, but I was like, oh my God, like this would have never had any other time in my life I couldn't have done it. So I'm really happy. But so so yeah, in the beginning, like 2 years ago, we had a meeting. Brian said, "Yeah, we should do a book," and then we had an official meeting with their management, and the whole band approved the book. He was just like, they just want Rivers just wants it to be cool. Like we don't need any money, we don't want any money. They love you. They just want it to be cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's a lot of pressure. Like I want to do right by them and the fans. Like that's the most important thing to me. It's like of course it's going to be cool, but like I want every guy in the band to be stoked about their photos. So there was a little bit of the hardest part I think was yeah, the legality of it, right? So I'm like the photos are mine. I took the photos, but I had to get sign off from everyone that was in the book per the lawyer. Like there's Lance Mountains in the book,
I know.
the
I saw
skater.
that. I saw that. I was like, why is
No,
Lance
that's like
Mountain?
the coolest part of that was like my for me of all the shoots, him showing up to my shoot and being And the thing that was my favorite part.
It's
Yeah,
it's so good.
dude, he's like one of my heroes from when I was a kid. You know.
Anybody listening doesn't know Lance Mountain is a legendary pro skateboarder. Like was Pal Peralta. He owned the firm, which was a skateboard company for years. And this legendary dude, like I think I don't know if he's 60 yet, but probably creeping up on it and still skating all the time.
Yeah, when he came to this, I'm 56 now. He's probably
Hmm.
61 or something like that.
Yep.
But he showed up to this day. He was like, I remember him being like 50 and no pads, just charging. I was like, dude, this guy's fucking no joke, bro. And because we wanted to do this in my mind, the inspiration for the skate shot was like there was an Agent Orange
Hmm.
song from the 80s where they played in the bottom of a pool
Yep.
and there was skaters going around the band, around the pool. So we thought about that as inspiration to have Weezer play in the pool. And then I mentioned this to their manager who happened to know Lance Mountain. He was just called him up. He's like, "Hey, can you come down to this shoot?" And he showed up like 30 minutes later. I was like, "God damn, dude, that's badass." And so he showed up, and then there's all these Hispanic kids like skating in like the Hispanic thing they do with like the Morrissey vibe, like where like I don't know why, but there's like this whole wave of like kids that are into like Morrissey and like have pompadours.
Yeah.
That was who was at the pool that day, and we were like, "Hey, can you guys like just get out for a second while we shoot?" They were kind of bummed out, so or you could be in the shoot, and they were like all pumped. So then they're in the background jumping over the fence, when the band is playing, and it just kind of all came together and made for one of my favorite shoot days with the band for sure.
So part of the process, yeah, you had to get everyone to sign off and legal stuff. Because Weezer, are they independent or they're with a label still? So they,
They've been with the labels, and so the way it turned out, which I think is pretty cool, is the attorney that I hired through the publisher, she deals with like a lot of music and stuff. And so they were like, dude, like I would not put any album covers that you shot, like the physical album cover, because then we don't know who the artist was that put that together and you get to a can of worms, right? So
yep.
I was really bummed out. I was like, so we can't show any physical. But then the lawyer was like, that's probably cooler because everyone that's a Weezer fan has already seen that bullshit.
Yeah,
So just
I actually had that thought when I was looking at it. I was like, yeah, I was surprised there wasn't any album stuff, but it is kind of cool because you get all the behind the scenes stuff of you with the band and stuff. It is like I think it is kind of cool that it wasn't in there.
Yeah, and even the verbiage, right? So I don't say when we were shooting the White Album, it's like for this project,
Yeah,
like she was like, don't even mention it.
yeah.
Don't because you just never know. It just prevents you from having some trouble down the road. So so there was a lot of that, a lot of back and forth. I would say like months of that legal back and forth bullshit. But
And how did you approach the editing of the book? Because it's a lot of photos. Did you get other people's opinion on what you wanted to use for the book, or like what was kind of the process of deciding what was going to go in the book, I guess?
that's a great question. What the way I started, which is the way I start with every project, is I just put giant V flats up in the studio. Like, fuck, man, there's like 12 of them, just big walls of V flats. And then went through and edited every shoot. And then from there, I just printed out little 4x6 low res pictures. And then I had hundreds and hundreds of pictures. I should just give those away to like fans and shit. But there's like stacks and stacks and stacks of them. And then I would just go through those and put those up, all the ones that I remotely liked. And then I kind of moved them around and edited them down. And then I put the digital versions of those in folders in chronological order. And then I gave them to Sky. And I kind of just fucking let her. I was kind of like, oh, no, then we did interviews about each shoot because of from the pictures. And so then you kind of had to match the pictures to the stories. So Sky, that was kind of her thing. And then I kind of because I'm so close to it, it was kind of cool to like let her do her thing. And she did a great job. Maybe I had a couple of suggestions at the end of swaps, but she did things I would have not done probably, which I think was interesting. So
No.
yeah,
And when you look at the work, like when you look at the early stuff to the stuff to now, like how do you see yourself? Like, is there evolution as a photographer? Like obviously, you know, the longer you do this, you get better at it, you get more confident at it. Like when you look at some of the early work versus what you're doing now, like what do you see in yourself as like a younger photographer in the older work, I guess?
I think that's another great question. And I had this conversation the other day. We were talking about confidence,
Hmm.
and now I feel because I've been doing this for 30 years, I feel like I can. You could call me and say, Sean, can you show right now? Just go to some place and shoot whoever in whatever condition there is, and do something cool. And I could do no problem. I'll pull a few tricks out of the bag, and I can make anything look cool, I think, and do a good job with whatever I have to work with. And
Mm.
back then, I don't think I felt that way. I felt like I had to do a lot of scouting. Like, for example, there's one shot of, I mean, all the early shots, but there's one where I shot them against like a pink wall
Yep.
with like different clothes that match the pink wall, and then they're in the same sheet. They're behind a bush. Anyway, I would go downtown and I scout for fucking week and a half, and just and look at that and take a Polaroid and then look at the sun. And it was before apps and shit, so I didn't know where the sun was. So I would literally drive downtown like 3 times a day, like look at the
With
fucking sun. Where's the sun? How's it hitting this wall? And then if and it's okay, it's 4 o'clock and it's hitting the wall like that, and then God forbid it be cloudy when I shot, I'd be thrown into a fucking tailspin. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Or so, you know what I mean? Like anything
hmm
could change, and I'd be thrown for a loop. So I feel like back then there was way more planning, and I remember not sleeping
Oh, really? So
forever
yeah,
before a shoot.
you'd get kind of anxious.
It's super anxious. I still get anxious. I get anxious shooting just like locals.
I mean, that's kind of comforting to hear because I don't know you that well, but like enough knowing you for a few years is like I used to have a lot of confidence and it's the energy. I wouldn't imagine that you would have because that's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, you get kind of a little anxious, but I think it's really just you kind of want to have that because otherwise you don't really give a shit, like.
No, I think it's a good. I think it's if you stop. I think it's a good feeling. That means you're excited and you care. You know
And
what I mean?
and if you're not like replaying, I don't know how I'm always just thinking about like the stuff you're saying, like what's the sun gonna be at like that day, or like my gear, like the night before, I'm like checking my batteries like 9 times, checking my thing, I got this. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
if you don't, that's like when you get sloppy and it's just like you can get lazy.
What I've learned, the biggest thing I've learned, and I still try to overthink everything. When I travel a lot, so I always like, what kind of lighting am I gonna bring? Then I think to myself, motherfucker, like, how much lighting do you use ever anyway? Yeah, I'm like a negative fill guy or a positive fill guy,
Yeah.
and then I rarely, or I might light some shit, but I'm not a big lighting guy in general when I travel.
You're a vibes guy, Sean. You're a
Vibes,
vibe.
vibes, vibes, yeah. But I always do that, and then I'll always overpack, and I show up and I'll shoot with one battery. I'm like I have 10 batteries, but I also know that if I didn't do that, some shit would go down where I'd be fucked.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If I just brought one battery, that one would die, and then it'd be jacked up. But yeah, I think looking back, I don't know. My favorite stuff is those shoots that were. I was just younger. I cared so much, and you can tell. Like you look at and I think the key is too. Like for me, when I was inexperienced, the band had confidence in me because when they showed up, I had done so much scouting and planning in like a grid downtown. We would get a permit. And you'd have like an X amount of blocks for that grid permit.
Hmm.
And I would go on foot and just walk every little nook and cranny and take notes in a book. And then I'd plan my day exactly how I was going to do that walk. Right. So when the guys came, I didn't tell them that I've been doing this shit for weeks. They just thought, God damn,
Yeah.
like Look at all this
dialed.
rad shit. You're
Dialed.
just binding shit.
Yeah.
He's confident. He's just bang. And I'm shooting like every 5 minutes. It's like we shot Mastodon the other day in Atlanta, and I had an hour with them, and we did like 13 setups. They were tripping. It's like 5 minutes of setup. It's like, but if you're ready and you're prepared and you make a little, a mental note of all the shit around you, then you're ready. And a plan B in case it's raining or whatever. And so I think that's worked for me. And I think if anyone's listening that struggles with like time management when you're doing a shoot, because like sometimes you're shooting somebody that's famous or doesn't have much time, you've got like 15 minutes, you better have your shift together.
Yeah, and even like I mean, yeah, obviously planning, and I'm sure a lot of times when you're in shoots you're doing stuff you didn't plan on doing. But yeah, for me, I found it to help. I started doing a few years ago before like portrait shoots in particular is like having an idea like how I'm gonna pose them. And sometimes I don't do it all the time, but I'll keep a folder on my computer of like just like some reference stuff just to like, because if I get stuck, I just kind of have somewhere to go to, and it's just because as you know, everyone posing is different for everyone. Like this might work for somebody, but then for other person it's awkward or whatever it might be. So it's just like I found that's the preparation and like having a plan, but then also giving yourself freedom to like go off script, I guess.
Yeah, that's portraitures. That's one of the hardest things to do. I think oftentimes you pray that whoever you're shooting, they show up, they're just like, and they're just giving it to you. Or lately I've been getting people that are they just go like this.
Yeah.
The whole time they don't move. I'm just like, and I like to not over direct, because then shit gets a little stiff. So I try to figure out how to communicate with people to get them to do movements without, hey, do like this and move a little bit. So that's always tricky. So I don't know, but it's really, it can be hard, so, or if you're shooting someone that's maybe has a weird shaped face or maybe, you know what I mean? Or
yeah, definitely. Like, even with the way you light certain people, some people have bigger eyes, some people have smaller eyes, like all types of stuff. And yeah, you learn that over time, and you have to have different tricks in the bag for each person or each shoot or whatever. Because being that you get to rarely does someone get to shoot the same subject over like a lot of times like you got to. Were there some shoots obviously that were more challenging than others? Like obviously the band they're human beings, and maybe some days they're just not into it, or like, or was it always just kind of a good time getting to shoot Weezer, I guess?
I think in the later years, we used to do, I can't, they're not really like, they're very professional and they each have a personality, right? So I talk about it in the book a lot, I think. But Rivers, out of all the band members over 25 years, like I don't have his number.
Yeah.
I don't call him and just say, hey, shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Or text him. But the other guys, Scott and Brian, I'm very close with. And so they each have a personality. Like Rivers they're all very professional, but Rivers is like all business.
Yep.
And he shows up and if I give him direction and a character that he needs to be, which is fascinating to me. But one of the very first shoots, I would kind of get up close to him and tell him he does well if I say, describe him as, who are you in this moment? Like you're in a club and you're a coke dealer and you're in the 80s and there's a bunch of chicks around. You're the bad motherfucker, and you can just see his face like changing, and he's that guy.
Yeah.
And then we take him out of that and put him a cowboy hat on him and give him a little haircut, and now he's a fucking real cowboy. Like he's like magic like that. He's one of the few people. Maynard does the same thing. Like they get into character, and they become that person. And Brian is very much into he loves fashion, and he loves, dressing up and his hair and all the things. And Scott is kind of, he's just there. Like he's having fun because I'm there and we're friends, but he could probably give a shit. He's a metal guy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, fuck it, you know. And he just puts he'll do whatever he's asked to do, but you know, he's not probably giving you more than he needs. And then Pat has like 8 poses that he'll just
You recycle
circle.
through it.
He's just like,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so knowing that, it's really great because you know how they're going to be and how you're going to pose them. And then a trick that I always like to do with bands is I'll always shoot a scene, or most times, and then I'll individually shoot them, each of them, in the same scene, because later you don't know how we may piece that together, and if something doesn't work with them as a group, I can use them in a different kind of layout. So that's always worked with them. But yeah, I don't know that. I think probably like the Teal album, we're all, you know, that was like a really fast shoot and people were busy, and you know, sometimes it's just not.
Yeah, it's a different vibe.
They already had the concept, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't really come up with that concept. They said they had it, you know, and I just kind of showed up, and it wasn't so much of a collaboration with lots of different things going on. So
Yeah.
in the early days, it was all me, and we had a couple of days, and I had, well, not all me, myself and the stylist. The stylist I would probably give most of the credit to, because she is still, but she, in those days, she came up with many of the ideas and concepts for the clothing and
Yeah, because
all that.
before you started shooting Weezer, were you like a big like prop guy or concept guy, the type of work you were doing, or is that kind of evolved when you work with these guys, I guess?
When I got started, I mean, the reason I got into photography is I wanted to be like Annie Leibovitz, you
Yeah.
know, because in the beginning, I painted and I was into sculpture and shit before photography. And there was, you know, that Joel Peter Whitkin, you ever know who he is?
Yep.
So it was him and Annie Leibovitz and dressing people up and doing all this kind of shit. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, it's mixed media. And so, yeah, I was into that, but these guys let me really like turn it on, you know? And especially when you get to know people, every time they call you, it's just like you get to go hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I think my favorite shoots with them were like when we did the boxing ring, and there's so many, dude. And you know, a lot of this shit just comes up on the fly too. Like when they're in the car, there's like a car shot where they're in a green car. Yeah, that one. Like that whole day, we didn't have any shots planned, and we just kind of just made shit up all day long on the fly, which is really stressful because I was out of ideas, and that's when we came up with that idea, and the multiple exposure idea, and the soccer idea was on the same day as this, and we didn't know, that just came up on the fly. My brother had all these soccer outfits, and so I called my brother. I was like, dude, like, do you got any soccer shit? And he's like, yeah, I got all this soccer shit, but he went to the store and got more soccer shit. And then we just went by the studio in Glendale on a Sunday when they were having real soccer games, and just went up to the edge of the field and shot that. But that wasn't planned, you know.
And we're like a lot of the shoots you guys did this kind of run and gun, or like was it
all of them?
See, that's the best, man. And that's the way to do it. You know, like a lot of times, you know, you can get cooler stuff that way. It's like skate photography. Like people aren't getting no permission to go downtown LA to shoot photos. You know, they just go do it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how all the shoots were. That one just below, that's my favorite picture ever that I've ever done of Rivers, and this is like a perfect Rivers, like a really great nod to him. Like this is at the end of the day when we were shooting the White Album, and we were wrapped, and everybody was kind of dispersing, and I had my housing with me, and I thought about taking him out in the water. I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I catch myself, if I see somebody interesting or an idea, I want to do it, but I'm scared to ask them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but why be scared? I mean, maybe all they'll say is no.
Yeah.
My grandpa told me that when I was a kid about girls. He'd always go talk to that girl. I was probably like 14. I'm like, no, man, they're gonna like. He's like, oh, the worst thing it can have is they'll say no.
Yep.
You know, or whatever. But mostly they'll probably say yes. So this day, it was the end of the day, and I said, hey man, you can totally like say no to this, but I think it'd be really cool if we swam out in your clothes and did kind of a like Lost at Sea vibe. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And everybody else left. It was just the two of us, and my assistant Wadley, and he swam out in his full clothes, and I did that shot. Wadley had like a little piece of a mirror that he was reflecting back from the beach, and he caught a little bit on
Oh
hit his
wow.
face,
Yeah.
which I think was perfect. And so I have this like couple of frames where I just love everything about this. To me, that's a perfect photo.
Yeah,
The
just it felt
composition
yeah, it
is.
felt different than like anything you'd done before with them, kind of.
So then we come in, and he's soaking wet. That's it. Yeah, that's it. And I say, and we're leaving, and nobody's there with him anymore. He's by himself, and we're in Venice. And I'm like, hey, dude, can I give you a ride home? He lives down the street in Santa Monica. I said, can I give you a ride home? And he's a man of few words. He's like, no, I'm okay. I'll call my assistant. So come get me. And I was like, it was very awkward. I was like, are you sure, dude? Like he's this famous guy just standing there wet on the street with his cell phone. And he just assured me like, no, you're good. Go home and I'll wait. But such a cool guy, you know.
No, it was a great story, and yeah, like you said, it's his. Unless you ask, you never know what someone's gonna say, and that's like any photo shoot. I feel like because I found this myself. You kind of sometimes might have at least I do, will have like a preconceived notion of how someone's gonna be like going to shoot, and
Every time.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is the dumbest thing to be because like this person could be super cool. Like, yeah, I've had this before. Like when I'm photographing like some business person, you're like, oh, this dude's gonna be a stiff, and they're like cool as hell.
Yeah,
They just
the
have this
coolest
job,
people.
and they're like, and it
Yeah.
can be fun. So it's like I try to not forget that. You know, it's just like ask. Who knows what's gonna happen? You know.
I do that. I dislike that about myself. I always create this narrative
Hmm.
about how it's going to be, how they're going to be kind of a little bit negative. Maybe they're not going to want to, and then 75% of the time I'm wrong,
Yeah.
or more than,
Yeah.
So it's whenever you ever do this to you, like, I'll judge people based on their looks. Oh, they're going to suck,
Yeah.
shooting this person. And then they're amazing. Like you said, they're like the coolest
Yeah.
people ever. I was at this guy's birthday party, this architect that I met like 7 years ago. I went to DC to his birthday party last weekend. But long story short, I met him like 7 years ago at a coffee shop in like 30 miles from my house. He was there at this opening, the soft opening of this coffee shop. And he looked like this Indian, he looked like Gandhi, like
Yeah.
kind of like a chubby Gandhi.
Yeah.
And I thought that dude looks so interesting, but out of place in this area in Florida. and I was gonna walk away, and I said, yeah, fuck it. Just go ask him if you can take his picture. So I went and I said, hey man, can I take your picture? And he's like, oh yeah, of course. And we walked outside and we started talking. Turns out he's this architect that designed Seaside, where they filmed the Truman Show.
Yeah.
He helped design that town, and he travels the world designing cities and towns and shit. And then we became really good friends, and he ended up designing parts of my studio. We're like really close friends. I just went to DC to his birthday. And it's all just because of this little moment where I went and talked to him. You know what I mean? And so I think about that a lot on a daily basis. Like if I see something and I think about that would be cool, or I should talk to that person, I just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't all day, I'll be like, God damn it. That was pretty rad. I should have stopped.
Or you ever had the one I've had this recently is like you're in the car and you're like driving somewhere and you see something, you're like, damn. But you don't stop because whatever, you gotta it's like shit, man. But yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, sometimes it's gotta slow down. This one I want to show this picture. I really enjoyed this stuff. The Polaroid 665 stuff you used to shoot back in the day.
Yeah.
What was this shoot about?
So there's another shot, a color version of that they used it for a lot of things. And that was just on the edge of a tunnel. And no, not that one. There's like a color version. Anyway, I always carried that film Polaroid film, and I would use a couple. It's kind of like a Holga, right? Like I'll have it in my bag and I'll shoot something with it. More than likely, it's going to look like shit. But say if it looks cool, it's going to be really cool. And so I would just shoot a handful of those Polaroids throughout the day, and sometimes they look really great, and sometimes they don't. But now I look back on it, and I just love that. Because if you're a photo nerd and you're younger, this is so cool. Like that's how shit used. That's like a dinosaur right there.
Yep.
Do they still make that shit? And do people do that anymore?
Oh no, like this and Type 55, like if you want to buy, it's like so expensive, like on eBay, if you can even find it. Like
really?
Oh yeah, they haven't made this shit for decades. Like it's yeah.
It was so crazy too, because I remember we carried a little bucket around.
Yeah.
Have you shot it before?
I didn't. I shot a lot of Type 55, which was the same thing. I had like these. I would bring these Tupperware things because you had to put it through like the solution and clean it or whatever. And it was a pain in the ass, but it just like the tones you would get from these films were this like nothing else,
So cool, yeah. And you had to kind of shoot it. I think you had to underexpose it, and that would give it more density, or is it vice versa?
I forget. It's been so long since I shot it.
But it was a lot of math anyway. And it's like, and I remember my assistant, we'd always bicker and fight about the math. It's like, no, man, you gotta look, it's just like mad thing. It's like, can we just take fucking pictures? Because if you mess it up, it's messed up and it's worthless. So
yeah, there's a lot more you had to do back in the day, like color temperatures, and you're shooting film. If you're shooting in under fluorescent lights with daylight coming in and all the gels and shit, it was a lot. Like now it says you can just fix everything in Photoshop pretty much.
Did you ever assist like a photographer or shoot yourself with film and go into like a scene? And I remember going into like one of my first jobs was there. Remember that show Home Improvement?
Oh yeah.
I was shooting one of the guys for like Osh, that store Osh in San Francisco. I was really excited. It was like these were the first celebrities I ever got to meet. And the photographer was like, there was all these different color lights, so we had to do cross filtration.
Yep.
So it's like put some magenta on some on the lens and some green on the different lights, or all kind of weird shit. And I was like, it was fucking maddening, dude. It was like everything was like, I need a 0.25 magenta and then a 0.65 green, and you're just like trying to like get it all neutralized. The wild, dude.
Is this like? I mean, I'm glad I came under film and stuff because it did. Yeah, I don't know. You really learn the craft a little bit more, I guess, in a sense. Maybe I'm wrong. Because I mean, with digital cameras now, you can be like 4 or 5 stops either direction. It doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah. I think the cool thing that I miss about there's some photographers like Danielle Levitt.
Yep.
Yep. Like I think she's one of my favorite photographers. I don't know her personally, but
she's awesome.
I love her work and her energy.
Yeah.
And there is another girl named Cheryl Niels. Have you ever talked to her?
No, I know her work though.
Yeah, she's kind of, they're the same personality. Like if you put them in the same room, they'd probably kill each other. Yeah. They're like the same. Like, ah!
Yeah. I just love Danielle's work because she's like, she does all this commercial stuff, but she still does like fine artwork, and she's just like doesn't stop. Yeah, she's great.
I love. She comes if someone says, "Who do you like who are your favorites?" Like she's always like on top of my tongue. But back in the day, like we would have like all the cameras I have up here, like those would all be in my kit. So we'd have a mag liner, and then I'd have like 10 or 12 different cameras. And we might be doing a scene, and then the assistant, it's like the RZ's one look, and then the 645 is a little faster, a different look, and then give me the Holga, then give me the Nikon, then give me the Polaroid. You had like so many choices, and they all had a personality. And so then you get the film back, and it was kind of left up to the gods what it looked like, but you had all these cool like happy accidents and weird shit that you couldn't replicate, and I didn't really plan for. And now I still think like that, but now I know how to use the film stocks right in Lightroom. But still, it's like it's different, right? Because like you said, it's like it's more it's flattened out. It's not as spiky with the different vibes in each shoot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I miss that a lot, utilizing. So I'll show up to a shoot now. I'll bring I always shoot with my Q2
Hmm.
and my Canon, and then I have a Fuji that I don't use as much, my medium format, and they all have a different vibe. But mostly it's two cameras now, and sometimes the holder still.
Because when you moved out to LA, was like shooting music, was that kind of like your goal, or did that kind of happen? Because you shot like so many amazing bands, like outside of even Weezer, like I know you shot Green Day and a bunch of other amazing artists. Was music always something you kind of aspired to shoot?
Yeah. So the when I lived in San Francisco, kind of right out of school, went up to school in Boston and moved to Hawaii, then to San Francisco. I was being like Annie Leibovitz, shooting music was always the goal, you know, maybe some fashion, but music. And so the magazine, Surface magazine, you ever heard of that?
Oh yeah.
So when they started out, when I lived in San Francisco, I worked at the Phoenix Hotel, which I heard just closing down like today or this week.
Wow.
But that's where every band stayed that came to San Francisco. They all stayed in, well, not all, but many of them, no matter how big they were, they stayed at the Phoenix Hotel because that was like the cool spot.
Yeah.
It's like this motel with like a pool in the shitty neighborhood. It was just like a rad vibe. And then I would go to these gay clubs at night with my friends, or all that I worked with, and I would meet like stylists and makeup artists at these gay clubs. And two of the guys that I met, they started Surface Magazine. They were a couple, Richard and Riley, and they started. And I remember their first magazine was just like paper, like a paper zine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like fucked up like newspaper quality, almost like
Yeah.
thick newspaper. But they had access to like celebrities and bands, and so they gave me like my first bands. Tears for Fears was my first
Wow.
my first shoot in Los Angeles. They gave me, and I drove to
Damn.
shoot. I remember I drove to the Chateau Marmont with my friend that I worked with at the Phoenix Hotel, and we pulled up. It was like fucking palm
Yeah.
trees. We rented like a Mustang convertible. We drove down the one all the way,
Yeah.
and we pull into LA, and we had like a fucking seamless hanging out of the car, and it was so wild, dude. It was such a cool. And I showed up and shot them at the Chateau Marmont, and I was like, fucking, I gotta be here, man. This is the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was leaving, the magazine called me on my pager, and I got on the payphone. They're like, hey, while you're there, can you dip by the record label? The same label that Tears for Fears was on. They also had the band the Catherine Wheel, which is they're from London. They have so many hits from the 90s. Anyway, they said, can you go by and shoot the lead singer of the Catherine Wheel on your way out? And I was like, fucking what's up? And so I did that, shot him like in this like conference room, but we really hit it off, became kind of friends, and then I was leaving town, and then my pager went off again, and it was the label, and they're like, man, Rob from the band the Catherine will wants to know if you'll shoot stills on their video. But I was already almost back to LA, but it was just this vibe of like, oh my god, this is amazing,
lot of
energy. Yeah. So then Surface Magazine just kept throwing me these bones, like Nina Hagen, who's one of my favorite artists from the 80s, and then Peter Murphy from Bauhaus, and on and on and on, giving me all these bands. And then when I moved to LA, the magazine Alternative Press they were key. They gave me every band I've ever shot pretty much is with them. And that gave me the introduction to all the bands.
Was Alternative Press strictly like a music magazine, or did they just kind of cover?
Yeah, just music. Yeah. They're still really big. They're like alternative and punk bands and shit.
No, that's sick. And I was gonna ask you, if you could shoot any musician uh that you haven't shot before, who would it be? I never asked these type of questions, but I was interested if there was one. I know you said you're a big Modest Mouse fan on Instagram.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
That would be cool. There's quite a few, man, that I haven't worked with. My favorite shoot of all time, if someone asked me, I would say PJ Harvey. It's
Hmm.
one of my favorite artists, and I got to go to England and shoot her in her hometown, and we spent a whole day together, and that was my favorite shoot ever. I Gosh, you caught me off
What did you
guard.
what did
Yeah,
you no, what did you enjoy about the PJ shoot?
well, well, she's beautiful. She's one of the most talented songwriters and musicians, and I was just like starstruck. And Alternative Press hired me. I think at that time they were going to send me to shoot Depeche Mode
Damn.
and New Order, which New Order is my favorite band of all time. And so it would be Depeche Mode, New Order, and then I think PJ Harvey. They're kind of stacking them because they're all in England.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Fuck yeah!" I was poor as shit at that time. I had no money. I
Yep.
don't know how I afforded, but I flew myself to England. I had a friend of mine who lived in London that worked at Getty Images, so he let me stay with him. And then the New Order and Depeche Mode thing fell out. That didn't happen.
Hmm.
So then I was just there for PJ Harvey. So he drove me to her town that she grew up in, which is about a couple hours outside of London. And then my friend's in a wheelchair, so he sat in the car during the shoot, and we met at a bed and breakfast, and then she and I just hung out. And I remember sweating and shit. Like I never really get nervous, but I was freaking out.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, God damn, I can't believe this is happening.
yeah.
She was so cool and like asking me how I liked her new album that she just put out that wasn't really out yet, but I had the demo of her new album, and I was like she fucking gives a shit what I think about her album.
Yeah.
But she was so cool and like just hung out with me all day. It was supposed to be like an hour and it ended up being like many hours. And I just thought, what a cool chick. And it's not always like that. So I have a lot of, if you ask me, and I won't say it on the podcast because I don't like to talk shit, but there's definitely several bands that I could come up with that were really miserable to work with,
Oh yeah.
that were just really difficult for me,
Yep.
that I looked up to before I worked with them, and then I never listened to them again. I'm like, fuck, I hate these guys, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But then there's some, like you're saying, like you judge them, you think something's gonna be the way it is, and like it's just such a great experience. Like sometimes people are so famous and they're so humble and nice, and it's such a great experience. It's for the rest of my life. I'll remember. There's probably like 10 shoots that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely. That's the best part of this job. And I guess for you at this point with you with photography, are you still excited about photography? Is there stuff you haven't done yet that you still want to do? Like where are you at like photographically these days?
So that's a loaded question. We do so many different type of projects, and we're actually in a regroup right now. We're working less at boat boards. We started a new production company here with Sky, the designer, and this videographer that I work with named Tyler.
Yep.
And we're trying to. I don't. That's a great question. Some things I feel like I've done so much. I just kind of don't need to do it anymore.
But even this
I would,
outside of the work stuff, like what like excites you like with photography right now? You know what I mean? Like,
what really excites me is watching some of the new kids.
mm,
Like I see so many cool, talented kids coming up.
yep.
I get a kick out of it, watching them. But personally, like I think like you, like I like to do portraits.
Hmm.
My favorite thing is to meet somebody that's good at what they do, no matter what that thing is, whether it's being a chef or a beekeeper or a fucking fisherman or whatever, and getting into their world for like a couple of days and getting to experience their shit and them being really cool and just creating cool imagery.
Yeah.
That's really fun, and I love still shooting music. I would like to do a little more of that. Obviously, there's not a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
For money jobs, it's weird, man. As I get older, like one of my favorite clients is a pharmaceutical client that I have, and and we shoot for this medication that helps these kids with this rare disease called Gervais syndrome,
Hmm.
and they have like hundreds of seizures a day, and it's just kind of a really terrible disease. And this really helps them. And I've been able to spend time with these families and shoot with this brand for the last couple of years. And on the surface, it looks really boring.
Yep.
Like it's not creative really, but it's rewarding. So I think my goals have kind of changed and shifted over the years to, I mean, I'm older now, so I don't feel like I need to try to be cool all the time. It's
You're
more,
already cool, man.
but you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I feel like I don't really have anything to prove
Yeah.
because it's not the history's already been written. It's like, what do I need to do? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, the stuff that excited you before is not the stuff that's gonna excite you now. Like you did all that stuff. You did the Chateau Marmont, Hollywood, all that shit. And
Yeah,
now it's just
yeah.
like finding that other stuff. And
I think it'd be cool to do. Have you done much gallery stuff at all with your work?
not really. Yeah, because as you know, like the finer that's like its own realm. So
It
it's
is.
because it's like you and me are both this hired commercial
Yeah,
editorial, and then I did my own personal projects. I just never put much effort into like going down that lane, I guess.
I would like to do that. It seems so overwhelming to me to even come up with the work, but I'm with a couple of different companies that do uh or like, are in that genre, and I would like to do more of that.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. It's like I'm so busy. I'm trying to scale back and not work as much and like kind of spend time. Also, spend time with family and shit. Dude, I just need to slow down a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But
Easy to burn out.
yeah, burnout. But I love photography still, like I did 30 years ago, and it just changes. I think it's good to like just kind of feel where life's taking you. That which is hard for me, and be cool with like I did that thing. I did it really well, and I think if I keep doing that thing, it's kind of repetitive, and I'm not really growing.
Yep.
And I still learn shit, man. Like whenever I'm with a new assistant or a younger guy or girl, they bring some new shit to the table. Um, I remember I was talking just the other day to this kid named Kino. That's one of John's friends.
Hmm.
That's a videographer. That's super talented. And I was texting the other day like, "Hey, homie, can you help me with like how to do a storyboard?" Because he does them really well. He's like 24, he's super talented, and I just love that connection with the younger generation. I think that's how am able to still work today.
No, definitely. I like talking to John Harrington, who is your one of your old, who assisted you last week, but assisted you for years, and because he's only been in the game like a couple years now, and he's just. I just remember that time I started what like 18 years ago, and you're just like at that point you're this one you want to be like on set. Like I remember the first time you get to go to like a big studio with a psych, and you're like, "Yo, this is the shit!" Like, and it's just that energy because like people can get jaded real quick, and you just get used to whatever, but like. That's why I love keeping talking to John and see what he's doing because he still is fresh and got that excitement.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also like you see the stress, right? It's like it's peaks and valleys all the time, and yeah, he's super fired up, and he's been around now. It's been about 8 years since
Yep.
we met, and it's really fun to watch the progression and where things are going. And every couple of years, I'm like, is it over? Is
Oh,
are people? Am I gonna get hired anymore?
that's
Is it?
me every year, man. And that's the thing I'm really trying to work on is this like is this struggle with this like this believing in yourself. Like that you're like, yeah, it's keep going because it's tougher and tougher these days. Because I mean,
Yeah.
less magazines or whatever and companies and then obviously we don't have to get into AI bullshit, but like all that stuff. But yeah, it's just for me, it's trying to maintain that and not freak out when there is like the up and downs.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about you, I think about this often, is you have these other kind of genres that you're doing really well in.
Hmm.
That I listen to many, many, many of your podcasts when I go on my walks in the morning. And, I'll flip through them and I'll go way back to
Yeah.
some of your first ones and kind of skip all around, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, dude, you've like talked to everybody. And that's like going to school for me. Like I love listening to um with the skater dude, Jason,
Lee.
Jason Lee. Like I love listening to cats that do like have multiple lives. It's inspiring to me that like he can be an actor and a skater and a photographer.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to do one thing. You can do podcasts and do really good at that, and you're a photographer, and you know all these cool people now that can,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, because I think that for a long time, and even I struggle with it, like the podcast. I don't really anymore, but worry like, oh, like people aren't gonna take me seriously if I, as a photographer, if I do this. But I'm like, no, at the end of the day, like I think I make good work. I'm proud of my work, and the photography is it's one thing, but it's like I don't know. I think the day and age of like the way the photography industry used to be, like you could talk to it more, like in the 90s, is it's not how it is now. Like people have to do a lot more different stuff and this like not give a shit what other people are going to think about what you're doing. And then that's my mindset is like I'm going to keep doing this and keep doing my photography and whatever interests me and just see where it goes, you know?
that's interesting too because you can kind of sniff out people that are chasing trends, and then I think the hardest thing to be is authentic, to you,
Yep.
because that's what people want to hire. And you may not be the hot, like I I don't know if this is a good analogy, but like I do what I do,
Yep.
and sometimes I'm not busy. Like maybe for 6 months I might be not busy because my style may be out of not in right now. But then if you wait long enough, it comes back in.
Yep.
If you try to chase what's happening, you're always kind of behind, right? You're never in the
Yeah, and
forefront.
this worrying about what other people are doing, like it's just a waste of time and
It's
energy.
a
And
it's a
and the
waste.
thing I learned from this podcast more than a lot is like the guys who you perceive are like the hot dudes are like they're struggling too. Like they're not like some of these. I mean, sure, some of them are probably making great money, but it's not like just raining down on them. Like it's just
Do you think that's super interesting to me too? When I listen to, we all kind of, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, but I think as artists, as photographers and actors and all that, we all think everybody else is doing better,
hmm
and we're all fearful of like the next is are people still going to want me?
yeah,
Am I relevant? It's a common thread. So I think this community of your podcast and like listening to there's that common thread. I think helps people to make them feel better, especially the new guys. It's like guys, like some of the kids will come to me. Well, you think that my shit was easy?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I got all this shit by
Uh,
like motherfucker. I've been bankrupt, divorced twice, lost all my shit, been on
Yeah, and
drug
and
addict.
and just because you did accomplish all this stuff, but it's like yeah, you got to shoot Weezer and Green Day, but it's like you still got it's what's next. It's like you know what I mean? It's just the struggle never stops, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's just keep building, I
It
guess.
doesn't, and I like to do multiple things. Not it's if you're in one thing in one genre. I've also noticed this with a lot of some of my peers. It's the ones that are still relevant and successful. They do many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning days, I was told I was a harder sell because I did music and fashion
Yep.
and advertising and stock and surfing,
Mm-hmm.
and then my agent would say, dude, like
Pick one.
we gotta hone it in because they don't know who they're gonna get,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then I got this agent later on at Radical Media, Michael Ash.
Yep.
He taught me that you can do all these things and still have a cohesive body of work because it still looks like the same person shot it, but
Mm-hmm.
we just have to formulate it so that through composition and tone, we can make one book out of all this stuff. And that's where my career like really took off. So
Mm-hmm.
I always remembered that. I'm like, I think it's good to do lots of things. So if one like you're just shooting fucking, I don't know, pick something,
Yeah.
and that thing's not hot right now, you just, what are you gonna? It's not gonna fucking work, you know? Or I have a lot of friends that just they only shoot when they work, and I'm like, what the fuck is that about, right? So the only shit you're gonna show is like what you shoot on a job. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's worked for me. I'm getting old as fuck now. I'm 56,
That's no,
and
you're just getting started, man. But you got the energy of a 20-year-old, man. So you're good, dude. You're gonna be like you're one of those dude. You're gonna be like 100, dude.
I,
You're only halfway. uh,
I hope so, man. I'm super proud of this book, and I think that's an example of like something I never thought I would do or could do. I just felt like it was for other people.
Hmm.
Like I look at photo books all the time, like how do these guys put this fucking shit together? There's photographers putting out fucking mini books. I'm
Yep.
like, who the fuck has time for this bullshit? How they do it? But I
Yeah.
did it, and I don't know if I'll do it again. But it was
Yeah, that was the thing. I was to wrap up, I guess, like with this book coming out, like what are you hoping people will take away from it when they get a chance to look at it? And I guess what's your overall, just how do you feel about it?
well, the biggest thing for me is I hope that fans, because they are such crazy rabid people. Like I hope that they'll look at it and they'll be super stoked, and they'll be. I'll make them proud, and then that the band is really happy, and I hope the band feels touched by that period of time because they really haven't done a book
Mm-mm.
like a proper book. So I hope that they'll all be happy with it, and I'm really happy that I got to work with all my friends on the book. You know,
Yeah.
even John Harrington has
Yeah.
mentioned
Yeah,
in the
he got
book.
it met. Yeah,
He's
he's there.
in the back. Yeah, he's in there. You know, so it's like all the people that I care about are got to be in the book, part of the book. And I mean, in life, like that's like everything, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really have huge hopes. I mean, I didn't do it to make money, but it'd be cool.
Fuck that. We're selling. There's gonna be a second edition. The money's coming. You're gonna see Sean's gonna have a new Rolex. He's gonna be yeah, man. Well, excited for people to see it. It comes out what November?
October 14th.
October 14th, but you can pre-order it now, and I'll put the link in the show notes. People can click it if they want to pre-order it. But thanks so much, Sean.
Yeah. Can you stand for 1 second, talk about Pick Drop for 1 minute?
Yeah. That's actually a great ad. If today's episode, if you use the promo code BANTER, you'll get 2 months free of PickDrop, the image transfer tool. So go to pickdrop.com, check it out, and thanks so much, Sean.
Thank you, dude.
So there you have it. That was the Sean Murphy interview. Just want to thank Sean so much for taking the time to come back on the podcast. It was a real pleasure talking to him about his new book, My Friend Weezer. If you're interested in grabbing a copy, I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can click that link, and it's available for purchase now. And if you want to see more of Sean's work, you can go to his website at seanmurphyphoto.com or go give him a follow on Instagram at murphyphoto. I'll put all those links in the show notes as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, with today's episode, if you go over to pickdrop.com and enter the promo code BANTER, you'll get 2 months free of the PickDrop image transfer tool. So definitely go give it a try and let me know what you guys think. All you got to do is go over to pickdrop.com, enter the promo code BANTER, and you'll get 2 months free. And I'll also put that coupon code in the show notes of this. There'll be a link for the PickDrop. If you're interested and want to click that, your support is much appreciated. And as always, thanks so much for listening, and take care.